Okay, so last class I had some homework that I gave you guys. So if there's a lot of people from last week's class, well, let me know if you'd like to check that work. But for today, we're gonna move on to the module 5. So that is page number 44. If you could all turn your books to page number 44. Okay. So let's start with reading this passage. I will ask someone to volunteer and read the first paragraph for the class. So who would like to go first? Don't be shy. So, okay, I will start for the first one. Okay, let's see what this is about. How to eat an elephant. Okay. Sorry? Sorry, guys, did you say something? Okay, so at least 80% of us react in the same way to a life or death crisis or emergency. We're simply overwhelmed. The challenge seems too great, the problem insolvable. So does anyone know what overwhelmed means? Overwhelmed.
I don't know.
No one knows? Okay, so overwhelmed is when you have a lot of feelings, okay? A lot of feelings coming at once. Usually it's when you're stressed, you feel overwhelmed. It's like a lot of things coming at you at once. Anybody know what the meaning of challenge is? No one? Okay, challenge is when you have a very difficult situation, difficulty, okay? The difficulty, it's when something is not easy, okay? So it could be that math is challenging or a challenge for some of us because math is hard, right? So anything that is hard, not easy, is a challenge. If you guys have any questions, let me know, okay? Ask me a question or stop me if you don't understand. In Air Force Survival School, they try to teach you how to overcome this feeling. One of the things they ask new cadets is, how would you eat an elephant? And they make them memorize the answer, which is, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. Survival means dealing with a huge life or death problem, one that you may not be able to solve quickly or at all once, all at once. The key to survival is to slow down and divide the challenges into small, manageable tasks, one goal at a time, one decision at a time. When an avalanche buried the survivors of an airplane crash in the Andes, the survivors whispered to each other, breathe, breathe, again. With every breath, you are alive. In a hopeless situation without oxygen or light, this approach kept them going until they found a way out. So that's the first paragraph of this passage. So there's a few more words. Overcome. Can anyone tell me what that word means? Overcome?
maybe pass the bad situation.
Very good. That's what it means. So when you get over something difficult, when you do something that was difficult, you can say, I overcame that situation or overcame that problem. Then we have manageable tasks. It's it's a 2 word. It's not 1 word. Manageable tasks. Okay, manageable means something that you can handle. Okay, it's enough for you to manage. That means you can, handle it. And task is work. So enough of work that you can handle. So it means that you only have enough that you can do. No more, no less. Okay. So can anyone tell me what the passage is talking about? Dark here, guys. Sorry. Can anyone tell me what this passage is talking about?
It's about how you can live or pass the bad situation in any situation that you need to. A bad situation or an accident or
But
something.
What is this passage saying? What is it about?
About survival.
Survival. Very good. Very good. But who is involved in this situation? Is it the Navy, the Air Force? Is it something to do with army and military? Looks like it's something to do with the army. Look, Air Force, right? Cadets. It seems like, yeah, what you said there is correct. This is about overcoming a difficult situation. That's correct. That's good. But this passage right here, obviously it's that, but it's in relation to military. Okay, we're talking about military, Air Force. So in that kind of sense, because those guys, they always have a hard situation, right? Okay, would anyone like to volunteer to read the second paragraph?
Yes.
Okay.
This and much more is what survivor expert Ben Sherwood tells us in his best-selling book, The Survivors Club. It brings together stories of real-life survivors from all kinds of disasters. He begins by explaining the 10-80-10 principle. When faced with an emergency, 80% of people freeze their stand and turn into statues or are so bewildered by what is happening around them that they can react. 10% lose control. These people scream and cry and often make the situation worse. But 10% keep calm and behave in a rational way. They don't panic and they assess the situation clearly and make decisions. These people have the best chance of survival in a crisis, and Sherwood explains how you can try to become more like them.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much. So we learned some new words. Looks like there's 4 new words here, the ones that are highlighted. Stunned. Stunned, anyone can tell me the meaning of stunned? It's okay if you don't know. Stunned is when you are shocked, surprised. It's like, oh my God, what? It's like you don't expect something, okay? So something happens and you're just shocked. And then we've got bewildered. It's a little hard, this word. Bewildered is when you're going a little crazy, okay? You're not calm and quiet. You're going slightly crazy because the situation is really bad. Usually this is not a positive, it's bad word. You know, you say bewildered when you're not okay. It's not a good word. It's usually meant in a bad situation. So keep calm. That is an easy one. Can anyone tell me what that is? Keep calm is to be calm. Okay? Calm is when you are quiet and peaceful. You're not worried, you know, you're just, you can, you know, sit down, close your eyes and breathe and feel good. That is calm. And keep calm is usually something people say, oh, keep calm. That means be peaceful, be quiet. Like, you know, it's a word that goes together, keep calm. But calm is the real word here. It means quiet and peaceful. And rational means logical, okay? Rational means very logical. It's the very, okay, let me tell you what logical means. It's when you do exactly what is the right thing to do. You don't do anything crazy or out of the plan. It's like exactly, it's like you have a test tomorrow. So what is the rational thing to do today if you have an exam tomorrow?
Study.
Exactly. So that's called rationality. It's when you do something in hopes that, you know, it's like it's the right thing to do. That's rational. Very good. Okay, last paragraph. Who would like to read for me?
Teacher,
Mm-hmm.
can I?
You want to read?
Yeah.
Adelina? Yes, go for
Yes.
it. Go for it.
He also reminds us that apart from staying calm and not despairing, knowing the right things to do in the crisis is also vital. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that at most emergencies, many more people survive than don't. For example, most people think that you can survive a plane crash, but American research has shown that the survival rate in all air crashes is historically 95 and 7%. Sherwood not only tries to show us how to behave rationally, I don't know,
No, you're good. Yeah, that's it.
and
Rationally.
calmly, he also gives us the information we need to join the Survives Club.
Very good. Very good. Very well read. Okay, so what do you think the last two paragraphs said now? Just saying that, you know, under a stressful situation, the best option is to be quiet and calm. And you have a more chance to be alive, you know, because when something bad happens and you freak out, you go, oh my God, what's going to happen? And, you know, if something really bad happens, you just start like actually screaming and crying and going crazy, right? But according to these people, they are saying that when you are quiet and you're not stressed, even if it's a very bad situation, you have more chance to be alive because then you're not, you know, you're so tense that you don't even see what you can do to save yourself sometimes, right? When you're too scared, you're not even paying attention to what's going on. You're just freaking out. So that's basically what they're saying, that, you know, when bad situations happen, sometimes, for example, here, a lot of people sometimes think that, you know, if there's a plane crash, the plane goes down, people will, they'll still maybe survive somehow, but they all die, right? Most people will die in a plane crash because plane is very, very high. Something happens, it's usually bad. So I don't know how that relates to this because, right, like even if you're quiet here, you're still gonna die. But in a way, you can say that, you know, if you're on the plane and something bad happens, you might as well sit down quietly because you can't do anything, right? So if you start screaming and running around, you're not gonna be alive. I mean, if you're gonna die, you're gonna die anyway. So that's that's it for that. Now let's see. I don't know why they're okay. So what is this word, guys? The word that's bolded. Can anyone say it out loud for me? Desperate. Everyone repeat after me. Desperate.
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 What does this word mean?
Hopeless.
Hopeless. Yeah. Desperate when you're thinking there's no hope and you'll do anything. Okay. It's like I'm ready to do anything because I think nothing's gonna work, so I'm ready for anything. That's very good. That's desperate. Okay. Next sentences. You weren't offended by what I said, were you? Offended. What does that mean? Offended.
Friend.
Sorry, say that again.
Offended.
Offended.
Angry. Offended is angry, slightly, you know? It's like when you're slightly mad at someone. It's like you tell your friend, oh, like the dress you're wearing is not really nice. You don't really look very good. Your shoes are not very nice. You know, your hair is kind of bad. So that stuff, that your friend will be offended if you say this. So offended is when you say something to make someone mad, slightly, you know, slightly offend them. The word is offend, O-F-F-E-N-D, and then offended is when you offend someone. So next is, what did you think of the movie? To be honest, it was a little, I was a little disappointed. Everyone repeat after me, disappointed.
Disappointed.
Disappointed. So disappointed means when you expect something, or something good is gonna happen, but then it doesn't happen. It's like you buy a lottery ticket and you think you're gonna win, but you don't win anything. So what are you?
Disappointed.
Yeah, so you're disappointed. Very good. Okay, what don't you understand in the report? I'm just completely bewildered by so many facts and figures. So this is the word we learned earlier, bewildered, right? It's a bit hard word. So everyone repeat after me, bewildered.
Bewildered.
So bewildered, it's like, you don't, it's like a little bewildered.
Bewildered. Bewildered.
So that means not feeling very good, very stressed, right? Going slightly, oh my God, what's gonna happen? Okay, were you surprised to hear that the boss is leaving? I was astonished. Everyone repeat, astonished.
Astonished.
So astonished means? So again, this,
Wow.
Astonished.
astonished.
Right.
Yes, yes, very, very good. Very good. That's correct. Who was that? Very good. I can't even tell who it is. But whoever it was, very good. That's what it means. It means surprised. It's when something happens you don't expect. So you can come to dinner next week? Yes, we'd be delighted to. Everyone repeat, delighted.
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 Delighted means happy, happy. I'd be happy to come. Delight means happiness. Okay. So then we have, how did your parents react when you told them you and Suzanne had departed? They were devastated, devastated,
Devastated. They were devastated.
devastated. Means very, very upset, very upset. Devastated means the most upset you can ever be. So devastated when you are like super, super upset. It's the worst thing. So it's a very, very, it's, you don't say you're devastated if you're hungry. You say you're devastated if something really bad happens, like someone in your family dies or, something really bad happens. Then we have here horrified. Horrified.
Horrified.
Horrified.
Horrified means? Sorry?
Something so scary.
Yeah, scary,
Scary.
scary. Yes. Yeah. Horrified is so weird and scary, like you absolutely shocked. It's like a number of words, but usually bad. They're all bad. Scared in a bad way, upset in a bad way, shocked in a bad way. So it's a bunch of things, a bunch of feelings, not good. So then is overwhelmed, overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. Okay, so it means when you are, this the first word we learned today. It means when we have too much going on. It's like you go to a class and you don't understand anything. So say you went to a calculus class or a very high geometry class and it's like, whoa, no idea what that means. So that's overwhelmed. When you have no idea.
Suffer.
Sorry?
Suffer. Suffer.
Can you type it? I can't understand. Suffer. Overwhelm means suffer. Not really. Overwhelmed does not really mean suffer. It means, say I have a lot of homework, okay? And I don't have any time. I don't have any time. I have so much homework. Maybe I have a little baby I have to take care of. I have to cook for the baby. So I feel overwhelmed for the homework. It's like too much to do. Too much.
Okay.
Too much to handle. It's stressful. So you say stressful is overwhelmed. That's another word for being very stressed. All right, so let's see what else we have. Okay, so I'm gonna put you guys in a breakout room. So you guys are gonna have little groups and you can talk about some time that when you felt these emotions, right? Because you all felt these things. We have all felt these feelings, right? We have all been offended. We've all been disappointed. Sometimes we've been astonished by something that happened. Sometimes we were devastated, right? Sometimes something happened that we got horrified. So I know maybe it's you don't want to talk, but it's very good to have a chat. Okay, so try to say something when you were, something happened when you had a lot of feelings and emotions come up for an event, something that happened in your life. This is just to get you guys started because I see a lot of new people in class, so you guys can all say hi to each other. Okay, where is Just give me 1 second, guys. Oops.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello?
Do you know what we need to say? Because I don't know.
Don't know too.
Me too. I don't know. I don't know. What are we going to discuss?
Um, maybe I'm horrified when I oversleep my lessons. I don't know.
Has anyone finished? No? Okay, I'm thinking now. We have to use desperate and offended and disappointed light. Okay,
Okay.
light. Okay. Okay. Limited on 53 seconds. Okay. I like Strawbell and because one of the many benefits of foreign travel is learning how to cope with the unexpected. Because can do astonished experience. Okay. Yeah. Finish. My turn.
That's good.
All right, everyone is back. I'm going to share my screen again. And all right, so now we're going to read another passage, okay? Who would like to volunteer and read this passage for me? Lost in the, let's see where, okay, lost in the, we don't know where. So looks like jungle. So 4 men went into the jungle on the adventure of a lifetime. Only 2 of them came out alive. Uh-oh. 4 went, only 2 came back. What happened to the other 2? Did they die? Maybe a tiger ate them. So let's see what happened, okay? Who would like to read the first sentence here? Alvin?
Okay, me.
Okay, go ahead.
Me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The Amazon rainforest is roughly the size of Europe or Australia. It is the home of more than half the plant and animal species known to man, many of which are lethal.
Very good. Thank you so much. So they're saying that the Amazon rainforest is very big forest. Okay, size of Europe and or Australia. So these are continents, Europe and Australia, right? They're continents. So they're huge, but the forest is even bigger than Europe or Australia. So it's home of more than half the plant and animal species known to man. Means that most animals and plants we know of, they all can be found in that jungle because it's the Amazon rainforest is basically everything, it's amazing because it has all the animals and all the plants, no big buildings, it's a pure nature. It's very good for the earth, such a big jungle because there's lots of trees helping the environment, okay? All these animals that are alive, they're helping the cycle of because if animals are all dying and going extinct, it's not good for the environment. So this Amazon forest is very good. Okay, who would like to read this paragraph for me?
Me.
Okay, you guys can fight and decide who wants.
Okay, maybe you should read. Okay, let me go. Okay, in 1981, 3 friends went to backpacking in remote area of Bolivia. Yaso Dennisberger, 22, and his 2 friends, Kevin Wallace, 29, and Marcus Styming, 29. They hired an experienced guard, an Australian named Kyra, who promised that she could take them deep in the rainforest to an undiscovered Indian village. Then they would refart nearly 125 miles back down rivers. Kyra said that the journey to the village would take them about 7 days before they entered the jungle. The 3 friends made a promise that they would go in together and come out together.
Very good, Alvin. Very good. You guys are very good at reading. Okay, so good at reading, but what does this mean? Who can tell me?
Three friends decide to go to a journey to Amazon rainforest.
Yeah, and then they meet somebody who's a guide. Guide is someone who's a tour guide. So when you
Yes.
go to a new place, there's always a person saying, oh, let me take you. Let me show you where it is, how it is. So this guy was Austrian named Carl, who said he would take these three guys. Okay, is it three guys? It looks like, yeah, three guys. Yossi, Kevin, and Marcus to deep into the forest. Okay, they would raft nearly 125 miles back down on the river. So rafting is river rafting. You guys know about river rafting? Okay, let me show you what it is. River rafting is fun. It is
when you cross the water with a small boat.
yeah, you got it. Yeah. People love it. It's very fast, you know. Sometimes you go, I'm trying to show you guys, but I can't move this. Yeah. It's the internet is a little slow, but yeah, this is river rafting. You see how many people are it's a fun thing. People love to do it and very popular, but it's also dangerous, guys. Dangerous because a lot of people have accidents, you know, because the water can be very rough like that because it's going down and it's very fast. So if you're not experienced, you can fall off the boat and you will die or get something very bad can happen because the current is very high in that water. It's not still, okay? The water goes very fast. So any mistake or if you fall, it's very hard to come back. So he said, the tour guide said, it would take 7 days on the river. 7 days. That's a long time to go to that village, very deep inside the forest. And then they said, no matter what happens, they will go together and come back together. They made a promise, right? That no matter what happens, we'll be together. All right, so let's see. There's some questions here.
Preciso entregar alguma coisa, levar alguma coisa? Não. Cadê? Ah, tá. Entregar para a professora? Let's go.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna bring up the listening, the recording.
Soon realized that going by river was a futile. The river got faster and faster, and soon they were in rapids. The raft was swept down the river at an incredible speed until it hit a rock. swim into the water. Kevin was a strong swimmer, and he managed to swim to land, but Yossi was swept away by the rapids. But Yossi didn't drown. He was carried several miles downriver by the rapids, but he eventually managed to swim to the riverbank. He was totally exhausted.
Sorry, they start to hear.
He found their backpack floating in the river.
Too small.
The backpack contained an insect repellent, a lighter, and most important of all, the map. But the two friends were now separated by a canyon and 3 or 4 miles of jungle.
Okay. So I'm going to play it again for you guys in case you didn't hear the first time properly.
3.6.
Yossi and Kevin soon realized that going by river was a big mistake. The river got faster and faster, and soon they were in rapids. The raft was swept down the river at an incredible speed until it hit a rock. Both men were thrown into the water. Kevin was a strong swimmer, and he managed to swim to land, but Yossi was swept away by the rapids. But Yossi didn't drown. He was carried several miles downriver by the rapids, but he eventually managed to swim to the riverbank. He was totally exhausted. By an incredible piece of luck, he found their backpack floating in the river. The backpack contained a little food, insect repellent, a lighter, and most important of all, the map. But the two friends were now separated by a canyon and 3 or 4 miles of jungle.
All right. Okay, so I'm gonna put you guys to the in a room, and you're gonna have to talk about these questions. Okay, don't be shy. Don't be shy to talk to each other. I know a lot of you are new, and it might feel weird, but feel free to talk about anything. If you don't know how to answer something, just say that. Just talk to each other and get comfortable with each other, because we have to do the speaking in class to improve our speaking.
Капец.
Hey.
Hello?
Look, I didn't hear anything. Too small.
Yeah, me too. I think the voice is not clear.
Yeah. You know. Everyone. Can you hear everyone? No? Yeah. What happened to Kevin and Yoshi on the left? I don't know. because I didn't hear anything. I have no idea.
I only heard someone need help.
Nice. What this like? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe. Maybe opinion, please. Okay.
Take them about 7 days. No. No. It's not this.
Maybe.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe everyone will be saved in the end. Maybe.
Okay.
I have no idea. Please teach me your opinion, please.
I think they may be drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. Question number 2.
Okay.
Question number 2. What piece of luck did Yoshi have? Piece of luck. I don't. Luck. Piece.
Okay. We tried.
Okay.
Maybe Yoshi found water.
What?
I guess.
Bread.
Okay, everyone. Kevin and Yossi on the raft. What happened, guys? What happened to these guys when they were on the boat? Did they fall out of the boat?
Yes.
Yes, they fell down. Yeah, they fell from the boat. Very, very common, you know. And when you go rafting, like I was saying, it's happens that people fall out of the boat because it's going very fast. It's hard to keep balance. A lot of people will fall off. It's very dangerous. A lot of people die every year from river rafting. Okay, the next question is a bit difficult. They're asking what piece of luck did Yossi have? What's the luck he had was he found the backpack. So he found his bag. In the recording, they said that suddenly after Yossi fell off the water and he swam and he went somewhere on land, he then found his backpack floating in the water. So that's they said on the recording that he was lucky to find his bag because he'd fallen into the water and his bag also fell, but he found the bag and he didn't drown. So it's good for this guy. He didn't die and he also found his bag. All right. So we heard that on the recording until then. So there's more because the story is not finished. But before we begin, guys, I'm going to give you a 5-minute break so you can go to the bathroom, maybe eat a snack and stretch your legs. And then we're going to be back to class at 9:30, okay?
Okay.
Eu não believe. Não. Não conheço.
Okay, I'm back. Elvin's back. All right, let's wait another minute. Do you say your name Akiho? Is that how you pronounce your name? How do you? Aki, yeah. How do you say your name?
Akiho.
Akio? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. All right. Now I'm gonna play the next part of the recording, which is number 4, I think.
3.4. Informal or slang.
Oh, no, it's not it. Sorry, guys. Just gonna check 3.7.
Kevin was feeling desperate. He didn't know if Yossi was alive or dead, but he started walking downriver to look for him. He felt responsible for what had happened to his friend because he had persuaded him to go with him on the river. Yossi! Yossi, however, was feeling very optimistic. He was sure that Kevin would look for him, so he started walking upriver, calling his friend's name. But nobody answered. At night, Yossi tried to sleep, but he felt terrified. The jungle was full of noises. Suddenly, he woke up because he heard a branch break. He turned on his flashlight. There was a jaguar staring at him. Yossi was trembling with fear. But then he remembered something he had once seen in a movie. He used the cigarette light to set fire to the insect repellents spread. And he managed to scare the jaguar away.
Hey guys, sorry, can you hear the recording?
Not this one.
You can't hear it?
No, I cannot hear.
Too small and not clear.
Real low volume.
Low volume, hey? Weird. Let me see again why this is happening. Because I didn't make any, I didn't do anything. You could hear the one before, right?
Yes.
So weird. Okay, let me try again and I'll stop after a couple of seconds so you can tell me if it's working.
0.7.
Kevin was feeling desperate. He didn't know if Yossi was alive or dead, but he started walking.
How about now?
Better.
Better?
Low.
Okay. Let's, do you think you can understand? Because this is the full volume I have. Guys, I can't go any further than this. So I'm going to play it again. If you don't hear it, it's okay. I'll just summarize what they said. So let's just try.
Down the river to look for him. He felt responsible for what had happened to his friend because he had persuaded him to go with him on the river. Yossi! Yossi! Yossi, however, was feeling very optimistic. He was sure that Kevin would look for him, so he started walking upriver, calling his friend's name. Kevin! Kevin! But nobody answered. At night, Yossi tried to sleep, but he felt terrified. The jungle was full of noises. Suddenly, he woke up because he heard a branch break. He turned on his flashlight. There was a jaguar staring at him. Yossi was trembling with fear. But then he remembered something he had once seen in a movie. He used the cigarette lighter to set fire to the insect repellent spray. And he managed to scare the jaguar away.
All right. Could you guys hear it this time?
Yes.
Okay, so what happened?
She fall down the in the river. She is screaming to help.
Mm-hmm. And then?
And
Okay, then the best part happens. They get fall down in the river, right? And they get separated, two friends. One goes alone, the other one goes alone. And then what happens? There's a tiger, a jaguar. So when this guy is taking a nap, suddenly he hears some noise. He looks back and it's a jaguar. A jaguar is it's a form of a tiger. It's a tiger basically. So what does this guy do? He takes his lighter and he had a mosquito repellent. It's so funny. So he blows the lighter with that gas because in a can, let me show you. In a can, there is usually pressure. So if you light a can, any can like hairspray or anything, if you put so what's it called? If you put fire to that, it will act. Sorry, if you put it will burn. So let me show you what I mean. It's because they have pressure in them. So if you bring flame close to a can, like an aerosol can, okay? So you'll see on these cans, it says they are flammable. That means that anytime there's a spray can of some sort, you can actually set fire. If you light your lighter in this, it'll actually cause a fire. So that's what this guy does, right? To scare the tiger. He takes the mosquito repellent and then he lights it with a fire and the tiger goes away. Very easy. In real life, that would not have been the case. All right. So let's see what the book says. Oops. Stop my screen share. Okay. So the book says how are Kevin and Yossi feeling? How did they feel? Scared? Lost? They were scared and lost, right? Because they're alone in the forest. Bad thing happened, and now they're like, uh-oh. Then what happened to Yossi on his first night alone in the jungle? What happened? He saw a
tiger. Jaguar.
A jaguar, exactly.
Jaguar.
That's it. That's the jaguar. Looks mean, right? Ready to eat you. Ready to kill you. All right, so let's hear more of this great story. I'm gonna go back. Hopefully you guys can hear it because... Okay, it's 8, right? Let me see. 6, 7, 8.
3.8. After 5 days alone, Yossi was exhausted and starving. Suddenly, as he was walking, he saw a footprint on the trail. It was a hiking route. It had to be Kevin's footprint. Kevin! He followed the trail until he discovered another footprint, and then another. But suddenly he realized that the footprints weren't Kevin's footprints. They were his own. He had been walking around in a circle. At that moment, Yossi realized that he would never find Kevin. In fact, he felt sure that Kevin must be dead. He felt totally depressed and at the point of giving up.
I love this story. It's getting really interesting. So what happens now? Okay, let's hear it again.
3.8.
After 5 days alone, Yossi was exhausted and starving. Suddenly, as he was walking, he saw a footprint on the trail. It was a hiking boot. It had to be Kevin's footprint. Kevin! He followed the trail until he discovered another footprint, and then another. But suddenly he realized that the footprints weren't Kevin's footprints. They were his own. He had been walking around in a circle. At that moment, Yossi realized that he would never find Kevin. In fact, he felt sure that Kevin must be dead. He felt totally depressed and at the point of giving up.
Okay. So what happens?
Yossi saw the footprint.
Mhm.
After 5 days.
After 5 days, yes. Very good. And then turns out it was his own footprint, it's not Kevin's. I mean, he thinks it's his own because he was going round and round. And then he thinks that maybe his friend is dead. And then he's scared. All right, no. So let's see. Yeah, why does Yossi feel desperate? He was happy, but then he's sad. Why?
Because she found the ship and missed his friend.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Very good. But then she thinks that, first she thinks that, okay, maybe I found Kevin. But then Yossi thinks, oh my God, it's my own shoe. So maybe Kevin is dead. So for 1 second, she feels happy. Okay, where is Kevin? He's like, okay, maybe it's Kevin's footprint. But then she goes, no, it's my own. So Kevin must be dead. So she's changing her feelings, right? And it happens when you're under a stressful situation. This happens. Suddenly you feel, okay, maybe I can do it. Maybe it's going to work. And then the next minute you're like, okay, maybe it's not going to work. Maybe nothing good is going to happen. So these are some situations, I think, in the book. They're trying to explain how, people are feeling. So this chapter is about feelings. So the next one, I think this is it, the last part of the story. So let's hear it.
.9.
But Kevin wasn't dead. He was still looking for Yossi. But after nearly a week, he was also weak and exhausted from lack of food and lack of sleep. He decided that it was time to forget Yossi and try to save himself. He had just enough strength left to hold onto a log and let himself float down the river. Kevin was incredibly lucky. He was rescued by 2 Bolivian hunters who were traveling downriver in a canoe. The men only hunted in that part of the rainforest once a year, so if they had passed by a short time earlier or later, they wouldn't have seen Kevin. They took him back to the town of San Jose, where he spent 2 days recovering.
Okay. So looks like that Kevin could not find Yossi, and he was very tired himself after a week of looking for his friend. But then, when he's trying to save himself, because at this point he's, he just needs to save himself, because after a point you need to save yourself. But he can barely walk. He's so tired. He doesn't have food, He's lost in the forest alone. So he was probably going to die, but then some Bolivian people, 2 people, hunters, they were, out there hunting, and they found Kevin. and they rescued Kevin. So they didn't really tell what happened to Yossi. And that's maybe we're gonna. Okay, there is more left. So let me share my screen. There is more of the story is still left. It's not done, but we might have to do something first here. Let's see. What was Kevin doing this whole time?
Trying to find Yossi.
Yes, very, very good. Why was he incredibly lucky? Because he was saved.
The Bolivian people find.
Yes, very good. That's correct. Then we have more of this story, but first we have to read this passage here. Lots of reading and listening today. So who would like to volunteer? To read the first paragraph. The four men. Okay, start.
The four men set off from the town of Apollo, and soon they had left civilization for behind. But after walking for more than a week, there was no sign of the village, and tensions began to appear in the group. The three friends started to suspect that Carl and Guy didn't really know where the Indian village was. Yossi and Kevin began to get fed up with their friend Marcus because he was complaining about everything, especially his feet, which had become infected and were hurting.
Thank you, very good. Okay, so looks like we're going back to the text story. So there's two stories going on, okay? One is the recorded story, which is about rafting. And then it's also about, I mean, it's the same story, but you know, there's one part is about rafting and the one part is about going to the. Let's seems like that this has gone back to the time before they went, right? So before they fell out of the water. So this is before they got separated, that you know, they had been walking for a week and they couldn't find that village that they were going to go to, and they started to feel angry and fed up with the guide, right? Marcus was the guide who was going to take them to the Indian village. Like he was saying before that it'll take, you know, 1 week, but they didn't like it because it had been too long and their feet were hurting. Okay. So next paragraph, eventually, who would like to go?
Me.
Okay.
Okay. Eventually, they decide to abandon the search for the village and just to hike back to Apollo instead of rafting the way they had come. But Kevin was furious because he thought that it was Marcus' fault that they had to cut short their adventure. So he decided that he would raft down the river, and he persuaded Yossi to join him, but he didn't want Marcus to come with them. Marcus and Carl decide to go back to Apollo en route. The three friends agree to meet in the hotel in the capital, La Paz, in a week.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so now we see why they went rafting, right? Because they went together to the village or tried to go to the village and then they had a fight. The four guys, three friends and the guide, right? In the beginning, remember before the recording, we read that there were four people, right? And then that's what happened. The two of them decided to go back by foot. So they wanted to go back walking. But these two guys, Kevin and Yossi, they were the ones that took the boat, the rafting boat, and that's what happened to them. But the other two, they went by foot. So too bad for Yossi and Kevin, right? That they took the raft because what happened later was not good. Okay, so the early next morning, the two pair of travelers said goodbye and set off on different journeys. So now we can understand what happened. So now we understand that this part of the story and this part of the story was actually a flashback before all this stuff, right? Oftentimes in movies, you see a storyline goes back and forth, right? It's like a bit of this story and then it goes between it goes between two events. So this is also the same thing. These guys wanted to go to a village, four of them, but they couldn't make it there. It was too far. So they decided to come back. Okay. And then they decided, when they were deciding to go back, they had a disagreement. They wanted different ways. Two wanted to walk back, and then two wanted to raft. And that's when all these accidents happened to them because they, went separately. All right, let's now go back to the story to see what happened to Kevin and Yossi. Now that we know, that how they end. Let's hear what happens next. So confusing. So 3:10, 3:11, 3:10.
3.10.
As soon as Kevin felt well enough, he went to a Bolivian army base and asked them to look for Yossi.
Mi amigo se pierde en la selva. Debes buscarlo?
The army officer he spoke to was sure that Yossi must be dead. But in the end, Kevin persuaded them to take him up in a plane and fly over the part of the rainforest where Yossi might be. But the plane had to fly too high over the rainforest, and the forest was too dense. They couldn't see anything at all. It was a hopeless search. Kevin felt terribly guilty. He was convinced that it was all his fault that Yossi was going to die in the jungle. Kevin's last hope was to pay a local boat to take him up the river to look for his friend.
Okay, what's happening?
Kevin got help. She began the local people to search his friend.
Very good. Yeah. So he tries. Kevin is now trying. First, he goes to an army base and he says, "Oh my God, my friend, help me find my friend." And they take a plane over the forest, but they still cannot find Yossi because the plane is going too far, and people are very small. So they can't see, especially in a forest. How are you going to see a person in a big forest, right? Over the plane, it's not hard to see a person. So
the forest is very dense.
Yeah, exactly. Forest, very dense. And so it does not work. So why was it unsuccessful? because the forest was dense and the plane was very high. So they could not find Yossi. What was his last attempt to find his friend? Last attempt, he hired a local guy with a boat, with a motor boat. So now he's going to try to look for him by boat, see on both sides of the land, see if he can find his friend. Okay, so getting very interesting. Looks like this might be the last part, I think. Yeah, this might be the ending. So let's see how it ends.
$3.11.
By now, Yossi had been on his own in the jungle for nearly 3 weeks. He hadn't eaten for days. He was starving, exhausted, and slowly losing his mind. It was evening. He laid down by the side of the river, ready for another night alone in the jungle. Suddenly, he heard the sound of a bee buzzing in his ear. He thought a bee had gotten inside his mosquito net. But when he opened his eyes, he saw that the buzzing noise wasn't a bee. It was a boat. Yossi was too weak to shout. But Kevin had already seen him. Yossi! 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 It was a 1 in a million chance that Kevin would find his friend. But he did. Yossi was saved. When Yossi had recovered, he and Kevin flew to the city of La Paz and they went directly to the hotel where they had agreed to meet Marcus and Carl. But Marcus and Carl were not at the hotel. The two men had never arrived back in the town of Apollo. The Bolivian army organized a search of the rainforest. Marcus and Carl were never seen again.
My God, what a great story. What a great twist in the end. Right, guys? What happens? How does it end?
They found Rosie. She.
But then they found Kevin. Kevin found Yossi, but what about the two guys that went by foot? They were never found again, guys. So looks like these guys had all this bad things happen to them. Like they fell down the river, they met a jaguar, they almost died, but in the end they were fine. But the two guys that went by foot that we found, right? The other two guys, they actually never returned. So that's the twist of the story, that these guys, they made it after all these bad things happened to them. But the other two guys that actually didn't take the boat, they went by foot, actually were never found again. So maybe, something terrible happened to them and they probably died. But these two guys, Kevin and Yossi, they actually survived after all this that happened to them. So I like the story. It was pretty cool. What do you guys think? You liked it?
Marcus and Carol, they died.
Yeah, I mean, maybe because it says in the end, they were never seen again. You want to hear it again?
Okay, maybe.
All right, let's hear it again.
By now, Yossi had been on his own in the jungle for nearly 3 weeks. He hadn't eaten for days. He was starving, exhausted, and slowly losing his mind. It was evening. He lay down by the side of the river, ready for another night alone in the jungle. Suddenly, he heard the sound of a bee buzzing in his ears. He thought a bee had gotten inside his mosquito net. But when he opened his eyes, he saw that the buzzing noise wasn't a bee. It was a Yossi was too weak to shout. But Kevin had already seen him. Yossi! 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 It was a 1 in a million chance that Kevin would find his friend. But he did. Yossi was saved. When Yossi had recovered, he and Kevin flew to the city of La Paz and they went directly to the hotel where they had agreed to meet Marcus and Carl. But Marcus and Carl were not at the hotel. The two men had never arrived back in the town of Apollo. The Bolivian army organized a search of the rainforest, but Marcus and Carl were never seen again.
Oh my God. Now you guys, you hear it now?
Yes. Yes.
They were never seen again. So too bad that Marcus and Carl, maybe if they had gone with Kevin and Yossi on the boat, maybe they would have been fine. But because they went together by foot, because the jungle is very, very dangerous, no matter how you go. You go on a boat, you can die. You go by foot, you can die. Because there's a lot, especially in the Amazon rainforest, there's a lot of, animals that can kill you, right? It's not a reserved park that you can go on a walk and be okay, because that side is, sometimes there are wildlife parks when you can go and walk and it's okay because it's controlled. The animals don't come close to where the humans are. But in a place like the Amazon forest, anything can come out at any point. So you could be with a guide and you could be with 10 people, but you could still have it's huge. I'll show you a little thing, because when I was a kid, I used to watch this on Discovery Channel. There's movies about this. So it's like this big, right? It's crazy big. And you can see, you never know what kind of animal can just come out and kill you. Or some accident can happen. Anything can happen in a place like that. So people that go, usually they have to take a big risk. It's not for a family trip. It's quite risky. Okay, so very good. Now, right. Okay, now we have some conditionals. Okay, conditionals are easy grammar, not very difficult. Conditionals, we use conditionals to express situations that that we say, like if something like this hypothetical, or something that could happen, right? So if something like that happens, what happens? Basically, that's conditional. Given something happens, what is the consequence? Let me show you here what I mean. So conditionals. Right. So these conditionals, if I had a car, I would have gone to the party. Okay. So the conditional here in this sentence, where is the conditional?
If I had car.
If I had a car. So that's the conditional. If I had this, I would have done that. Okay. So that's it. That's simple. That's what conditionals are. It's used to express things that, as you can see, you can say this about the future, obviously, right? If I had this, I would have had that. You can talk about the past. Also, if I had an education, I could have had a job, or if I had, something like that. So pretty easy. Now let's look at the first question here. What would you do? So obviously you can ask this as a question as well instead of having it as a statement. What would you do if you blank in the mountains and you blank? So the answers are already here, but it's going to be a version of B. So what would you do if you were?
Get lost.
You said if you were?
Get lost.
So I gave you the answer, right? Let me just show you what I mean. So, oops. So what would you do? What is the form of B? If you was lost, maybe if you are lost.
If you.
So you can say that both with the past and the present, right? You can say, what would you do if you were in the mountains and you got lost? You can also say, what would you do if you're in the mountains and you get lost? So you see what I'm doing here? Okay, let me just, it's hard to copy. Okay, I got it. So look. All right, I'll just type it. What would you do if you?
Been.
No, keep it easy because been is going very far. Let's just use past or present. Okay, because we don't want to go too far, like continuous, making it very difficult. Have been, that stuff is way more complicated. Let's keep it simple. What would you do if you were in the mountains and you got lost / get lost? So let's first try to make this question in, present. So what would it be? What would you do if, what, are or were? For present.
Where?
Exactly.
Were.
No, were is past.
You were.
If you are. What would you do if you are in the mountains and you?
Get lost.
No. Remember, the whole sentence is in?
Present.
So get lost. Right? It's not going to be got lost. Because got lost is past. So we can use that got lost with what would you do if, what would be the past version of this?
You were in the mountains and you got lost.
Exactly. But the best, sorry? But usually, guys, I'm going to tell you, usually we use this, it's best to use this were with if. You'll see later. That's the best pairing, you know, when, usually you don't say if and are. Usually we say if and were because if is not a, it's not, what's it called? It's not confirmed. If is conditional, right? That's what I mean. It's not a confirmed situation. So if anytime you see if, it's best to use it with were. You'll see that why later because if is not a real situation. So we don't really say are, not a very important thing to know now because both in this case, in grammatically, both are correct. But usually in English, we usually use this form of, this second sentence we would mostly use because we use were with if. All right, let's see. The next one is, if I thought that somebody was in my house, I dash call the police and I dash not confront the intruder. So if is a conditional, what would we use here?
Were.
No, it can't be always were, right? It's not going to be only was or were. Oh, sorry, is or are.
Had documents.
I could.
Very good. Close, very close.
I had.
I called.
I can call.
Yeah, I mean, these are all correct, but in terms of this sentence, it will actually be I would call, would call. Would call. Okay, here it would be would. Also remember, if usually goes with would. Okay, would, I know in the book it doesn't say all these things, right? But if we use it with would, does anyone know what would is?
Maybe.
Yeah, so these are also
Future.
Conditional. These are all, in English, we call these things conditionals. So would is a maybe, right? Would is not 100%. It's not 100%. It's actually maybe. It's a maybe situation. So we're going to use would, because would is the same meaning. It means that, it's not for certain. If I had this, I would. Remember when I used the first example, as you can see, if I had a car, I would have gone to the party. So if and would have a very close relationship because if is a maybe and would is also a maybe. So both these are maybe. So that's why they are paired together, okay? So think about it like that. If is a maybe, would is also a maybe. So depending on the situation, you're gonna say if and would most likely. Obviously, there's gonna be situations where it's a different word, right? It's never gonna be the same because English is not math. So let's see, the next part, I would call the police and I.
Please, and I know.
Prefer.
Say that again.
Prefer.
No, it would actually be would not. That's it. Would not confront. Okay, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. So it would be I wouldn't, would not. So that becomes I wouldn't. Right? Would is, but would not. Okay. So would is maybe, right? Then what is would not? Maybe not, right? That's the meaning of would not. It means maybe not. So if I thought there was someone in my house, if I thought there was a thief in my house, I would call the cops, but I would not confront the intruder. Confront means face. So what are you guys gonna do? Are you gonna face the robber? No, but because that's risky, right? You don't wanna face a thief in your house because the thief could stab you. They could have a knife, they could have a gun. So what's the best thing to do is to call the cops and to not face the guy yourself. So these are all, again, if there was someone in my house, say you're going to sleep at 11 p.m. and then you're trying to sleep, suddenly you hear a noise, sounds like, oh, you live alone, what's that noise? And maybe you're thinking, oh, maybe I would call the cops. Maybe I should, right? Like, but again, it's if. I know it's a bit weird, but let's practice a bit more and maybe it will be more clearer for you. What would you have done if
you were?
Yes, very good. Perfect. What would you have done if you were in Yossi's situation? Here we're using past because it's in the past, simple. And oh yeah, I forgot to tell you guys that for number 2, we used would because it's future. Of course, yeah, that is very important. You know, would is also for the future. Okay, very important that we use would with if for future. But we use were, you know, again for the past. So we have to look out for these things. So if Kevin hadn't looked for his friend Yossi,
Would die.
Was die.
No, would die.
I'm sorry. Okay.
If Kevin hadn't looked for his friend, Yossi would have died. Guys, I know it's very confusing. You know, would die is not really correct. Okay, it's good. It's very close to being correct, but it's not 100% correct. So it has to be if he hadn't, since we have this had word, you know, we have to balance that word. So let me just show you what I mean. If Kevin hadn't looked for his friend, if Kevin hadn't looked for his friend Yossi dash die. So Yossi would die. This is not totally wrong, but it's also not totally correct because this is not completely hypothetical. I mean, he did this part. He had looked, right? So, but he could have not looked for Kevin. But because he did look for his friend, if he hadn't, Yossi would have died. Would have. We have to use the word have because there was had here. It's a little confusing to, you know, understand these things because it's different every time, right? You can't really follow a formula, as you can see. It's all, each answer is a bit different, but I think the best part to remember is to use would. If is always, you know, if,
Maybe.
Would, or were. These are the two things we usually use if with. Would, if we say about, if we're using if to talk about the future. If I had a nice dress, I would have looked good. So if I had that dress, I would have looked good. So that's would, I'm using it as a future, right? But if I had studied, if I were smart, I would have had a job. So if I, well, that's not good an example. If I were smart, okay, no, not smart. Oh, what is it? If I were, gosh, I can't even think of anything. If I were sad, I would, sorry, eat. Okay, this doesn't show you what I'm trying to mean.
If I were a good student.
If I were, yeah, but then we still have to finish it, right? If I were a good student, then what? Now we're talking about the future. I would. Is, right? You see what happened here? That's a very good way to show you guys. Yeah. So also, yeah, this is talking about the past, and this is a situation where they're combining past plus the future, right? If I wore something, then I would get something. So yeah, any questions on this? Is it clear? How clear is it? From 1 to 10? A 7?
Yes.
What part is this?
This is past.
And this part?
This future.
Exactly. Exactly. I was just hoping to show you guys an example with war, but you know what? I don't think you can use if with were just like that. You have to use it with would. Yeah. Because if I would go with you if I were not sick. This is a bit complex sentence. Don't need to think too much about this were. Where did we use were again? What would you do if you were in the mountains? Okay, yeah. So guys, forget about the were being it past. Yes, it is in the past. Were is always in the past. Always in the past. But when we're using conditionals, you know, it's usually used as in this form, in the past plus future form. Because anything I say, I would have to add a would. Even if I say, if I were rich, I would buy a Mercedes, right? So in this situation, you never would say, no matter what it is, you would never say, if I was rich. You would never say that, you know, because that is wrong. You never say, if I was. You always have to use were or is. You can't use these things because if doesn't match with these words. It doesn't make sense, you know, because these words are, they are, you know, they are as it is. There's no, when you say someone is something, there is no maybe. Okay, Tom is a doctor. There is no maybe in this situation. But if Tom were a doctor, but if he was a doctor, right? But we don't say was, we say if Tom were a doctor, he could have saved his mother. So in this situation, when we're using conditionals, because they are conditionals, we never say is or was. This is something that even English speakers make a mistake, you know? Sometimes even an American can say, oh, if I was, but that's wrong. In grammatically, it's not correct because if is always paired with were. You never say if Tom was a doctor. You can say Tom was, but then you have to, when Tom was a doctor, that's correct. But then obviously this part is not correct. So basically what I'm saying, I don't want to confuse you guys too much is, but if is usually paired with were. So if something was like that, I could have done or would have done this. Okay? I wish there was some exercises here. No, there isn't. Okay, so next class, guys, I will make an exercise for you to do it in class, okay? To see. So tomorrow, take a look at these 4 answers today, and tomorrow I'll give you maybe 1 or 2 sentences different to do again. So that way we can see a bit more, because with these kind of grammar, you need to practice a bit more than just 4 sentences to get the idea, because there is not really a definition, you know, there's no, so yeah, that is that. And So now they're saying, look at sentences 1 to 4. You know, which two refer to the hypothetical situation in the past, and which two refer to a hypothetical situation in present or future. So this is not really necessary to do. You're just gonna get more confused. I think we should do this one. The 140. So let's just do this tomorrow. I want you guys to look at. Okay, perfect. This is a little harder. Okay, guys, if you have your book, can you take a look at this at home as homework?
Yes.
Okay, and then we'll talk a bit more about this tomorrow. Because these are, you know, they're not difficult, but they need some practice. You'll get it if you practice it a bit more. So we will practice this tomorrow again in class. You can also, instead of looking at this, you can also just look at this exercise. If Tom hadn't got injured, he would have played in the championship game. So now this is becoming a bit more advanced because we're talking about continuous. So we will try to take a look at this, and if you don't understand, that's fine. And then try to take a look at these. I think the best thing to do would be to look at the exercises. And then maybe after you look at the exercise, you can look here to see if anything makes sense. But if it doesn't make sense, don't worry. I'll be in class tomorrow and we will do it together. Okay? All right, so I'll let you guys go early today, first day of the week. And tomorrow, I'll leave the class open for the next 3 minutes. If anyone has a question they'd like to ask me, feel free. But I'm not going to start this exercise now because we don't have enough time. Okay, so I'm going to go back to... So we're doing this. We're doing page 44. So take a look at these sentences that we did today, and then page 140. You don't have to look at it, but I suggest you take a look at this as well. Okay?
Okay.
All right. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
Thank you, teacher, for the class.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.